if we wanted to go the route of guys going to the NFL and transfer portal and stuff like that, Dax Hill did just declare to go to the NFL. So, 5-star guy for Michigan, safety, phenomenal athlete. He is declared to go to the NFL. So that's a big blow for Michigan. Not unexpected even a little bit, though. I mean, he had got to his junior year. He definitely looked NFL ready in terms of speed. That was the one guy. Even he, though, looked slow and off kilter sometimes versus Georgia. That I thought he was the one guy that was going to be able to cover some of those guys, but even he struggled. But yeah, he is off to the NFL.
Yeah, I remember, a few times where he either looked a step slow or he made a good play or what should have resulted in a good play, but it just kind of didn't matter. Like one in particular, and this happened like 3 or 4 times in different ways at different places on the field. But the one in particular that I remember is he was blitzing off the edge. He jumped and was right in the quarterback's lane in Stetson Bennett's lane to throw the outlet. And he got a piece of the football, but lo and behold, the ball still had enough on it to get to the back who made 8 yards or 12 yards or whatever. It just turned out to be an unsuccessful play. And, but they were just like that.
Yeah. I mean, I do think he, if we go back to the talent conversation, I definitely think he's right there He's right there with all those guys that we're talking about who are super talented on Georgia's team. I did want to make this comment too. I should have made it when we were talking about the Michigan versus Georgia game back then. But, the other part of that game was Georgia hit on every big play. Every single time it was like, oh, they went deep or they had this perfect, the ball did roll their way. And they made that happen. Yeah. There wasn't luck, but they didn't miss on any of those deep balls. And Michigan missed on, basically all of them. When they got when they needed a turnover, when Michigan's in the red zone, they got a turnover. So that was part of what happened on New Year's Eve as well.
And the balance perspective there, I think, in my opinion, is that, yes, Georgia made the plays. They're extremely talented. Michigan, maybe not quite as talented, didn't make the plays. But if you watch any college offense, they're not hitting all those shots, regardless of how good or bad the coverage is. Even if somebody gets burned, they're missing a throw 40 yards downfield. Right. But yeah, they didn't miss. They just didn't miss.
They did not. And yeah, I think, like you said, I think it's, part of it was those guys got burnt, but also there were times, I mean, Stetson freaking Bennett, who's a former walk-on, is just dropping a 50-yard dime. Yes, he has played pretty well all year, but I don't think he's been making those types of throws on a regular basis, to guys. So it didn't seem like anything was going to work for Michigan and everything was going to work for Georgia.
And I might be imagining this, but again, I rewatched the first half just 2 days ago, and this seemed to be fairly common too. Georgia would get like 7 yards on first down and be 2nd and 3. Then Michigan would stone them on 2nd down and be like 3rd and 2. And then Georgia would barely get a first down.
Yep.
They would get like 2.5 yards and barely move the sticks.
It happened. It felt like every possession it happened. And the most frustrating thing was just first down. It was an easy 8-9 yards, like every time. And I was sitting right at the 50-yard line. And it was like, oh my God, how many times can they run it up the middle on first down and get those 8 yards? It was just one of those things that it felt like we couldn't stop that at all. And then, when you're running 3rd and 2, your conversion rate there is going to be pretty high, right? But I totally agree. It felt like it was early because at the end, after a couple scores, it didn't matter. But even early on, it was like a couple things go a couple different ways. Do I think Michigan wins? No, but it wouldn't have been like it was just a couple backbreakers that it was like, oh, we got him. Oh, no, we don't. And then things unravel pretty quickly when you have a few of those.
What was your thought process in the moment? Georgia had scored. Was it Michigan's first possession? They went for it 4th and 4 at like midfield.
I was like, oh boy, we're doing this. I did not feel great about it. You know, I liked that, you know, Jim's probably thinking we got to be aggressive and take chances to win this game, right? You can't just play conservative. But also, it was not like they were on the 40, you know, the other 40-yard line. It was like, I think they were on their own 45, I believe, or something to that effect. So I didn't like that. You know, I don't know. I think you can go back in hindsight and look at a lot of things, you know,
Sure.
but, you know, I think that Jim Harbaugh is probably thinking, we got to take advantage of everything and get momentum and that type of stuff, because the last thing he wanted was to go down 14-0, right? And, you know, unfortunately, that's how it went. But, yeah, I definitely – I liked it until – it was one of those things where you like to call it until they don't get it. And it's like, oh, you idiot, you know?
Yeah, that's how it always is. But, you know, if you got a quarterback who's completing 65% of his passes, even against Georgia, I don't know what the numbers were. They were probably a little bit lower. Then you're most likely going to complete the pass for at least 4 yards. And that's the kind of percentage you're looking at. So you're right. Actually, you probably didn't get to see the first game, but if they would have punted, if they would have played that kind of game, kind of keep away, let's try to extend the game, it would have mirrored Alabama. Alabama beat Cincinnati and was a slow burn that you knew from drive number 1, this game's over. But it's not going to look ugly, but it's over.
Yeah.
All right. So if we hit anything else, the defensive line coach, Sean Nua, who moves on to USC, is there any way to determine what's going to happen there? Did they go within or elsewhere?
Well, first of all, I think that it's not that big of a blow to Michigan. I think obviously Michigan's D line was one of the best in the country this year. But I think that Sean Nua, if you asked us last year, we would have all said he needs to go. You know, and so a lot of, and that's just being honest. Most people wanted him gone. Jim Harbaugh kept him for another year, probably saved Sean Nua's career. And it definitely helped Michigan this year. He did develop guys like Mozzie Smith and Chris Hinton, who Chris Hinton just declared for the NFL draft as well. He definitely developed those guys over the past year, but he's also missed on some really big recruits that Michigan needed in terms of interior D linemen. So I think it's a little bit of a blow, but I think he's replaceable. I think Michigan should go out and get a dynamite recruiter. I think they really need a big-time recruiter on the D-line in the middle there for that. And so what I've heard is they're still looking outside, but Ryan Osborne, who was an analyst for Michigan on the defensive line, has been the name that people are talking about of him moving up and taking that spot. I think it's I think it's going to be another one of those, like, Jim Harbaugh's going young, taking a chance on a guy that has proven himself to be good in terms of scheme, but more importantly, he meshes well with the guys and is pretty good on the recruiting trail. So he was like one of the most likable guys, it seemed like, from the players this year. And I think Jim is really, really taking a liking to guys that can be in that locker room and work with his players.